It's December. The alarm rings. It is pitch black outside. Your room is freezing. You drag yourself out of bed. You scrape a layer of ice off your car windshield while your breath forms clouds in the freezing air. Why do you do this? Because you have to go to work. You will spend 8 to 10 hours inside a fluorescent-lit office while the sun rises and sets outside your tiny window. By the time you drive home, navigating through slush and dark, it will be pitch black again. You feel exhausted. You feel sluggish. You call it seasonal depression. But what if your brain isn't depressed? What if it's just confused? For 99.9% of human history, winter was not a season of work. It was a season of rest. Your ancestors didn't have alarm clocks. They didn't have windshields to scrape. They didn't have quarterly quotas to meet. When the snow fell and the earth froze over, the natural world hit the pause button. And so did humanity. Think about it. Before agriculture, before the Industrial Revolution, human life was strictly dictated by the sun and the seasons. In the summer, you worked. You gathered berries, you tracked animals across vast, unforgiving plains. You built and repaired shelters. You were burning calories at a massive, unsustainable rate. Evolutionary anthropologist Dr. Herman Poncer spent years studying the Hadza hunter-gatherers in Tanzania, meticulously tracking their daily energy expenditure. He found that traditional foraging requires immense physical output during the active seasons. Your ancient ancestors were athletes. They were moving constantly. They were running down prey until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. They were carrying heavy loads of gathered food for miles back to camp. But you cannot sprint forever. Biology demands a recovery phase. Winter was that recovery phase. When the days grew noticeably short and the temperature dropped below freezing, the environment forced an absolute halt to productivity. The plants were dead. The herds had migrated hundreds of miles away. The rivers were frozen solid. The landscape became a white, desolate wasteland. There was nowhere to go. There was nothing to do. So what did ancient humans actually do all winter? They stopped. They huddled inside caves or heavily insulated temporary shelters. They built massive fires that they kept burning day and night. And they rested. Not for a weekend, not for a 2-week holiday vacation. They rested for months at a time. Dr. Matthew Walker, a professor of neuroscience and psychology at UC Berkeley, has extensively studied the evolution of human sleep patterns. He points out that before the invention of artificial light, human sleep architecture was strictly tied to the solar cycle. In the depths of winter, when nights lasted for 14 or even 16 hours, ancient humans didn't just sit in the dark twiddling their thumbs. They slept. They slept deeply and profoundly. They engaged in what scientists call biphasic sleep, sleeping for a solid chunk of the night, waking up for an hour or two to tend the fire, check on their children, or talk quietly in the dark, and then going back to sleep until the late morning light crept into the cave. Their brains were bathed in melatonin for extended, uninterrupted periods. Their nervous systems were completely resetting from the immense physical and psychological stress of the summer. They were dreaming, repairing cellular damage, and consolidating crucial survival memories. You are biologically wired for this exact same rhythm. Your DNA has not changed in any meaningful way since the Ice Age. When the days get shorter, your brain naturally produces more melatonin. Your core body temperature drops. Your metabolism shifts into a different gear, designed to conserve calories rather than burn them. Every single cell in your body is receiving an ancient chemical signal that says one thing: stop moving, conserve energy, rest. But you don't rest. Instead, you turn on a blinding, artificial LED light at 6 a.m. You pour massive amounts of caffeine down your throat to artificially block the adenosine sleep receptors in your brain. You step out into the freezing cold, wrap yourself in synthetic fabrics, and force yourself to perform at peak cognitive capacity for an arbitrary economic system. You stare at glowing rectangular screens that trick your optic nerve into thinking it is high noon in the middle of July. You are fighting millions of years of deeply ingrained evolution every single morning. And it is destroying you. Researchers at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology have analyzed the bone density and stress markers in ancient human fossils. They found something incredible that challenges everything we assume about prehistoric life. Despite the brutal harshness of the Ice Age, despite the complete lack of modern medicine, many ancient humans showed signs of profound physical recovery during the winter months. Their stress fractures healed. Their cortisol levels, as far as we can deduce from evolutionary models and modern hunter-gatherer proxies, plummeted. The winter wasn't always a time of constant panicked starvation. Because they had spent the frantic autumn preserving meat, drying fish, and gathering durable root vegetables, winter was actually a time of intense security and social bonding. They lived off their stores. They didn't have to hunt every day. When you are trapped in a cave with your tribe for 3 straight months, you can't be productive in the modern sense. You can't build new tools all day. You can't conquer new lands. You can only do one thing. You connect. Winter was the sacred season of storytelling. Around the glowing campfire, our ancestors passed down the vital myths, the survival knowledge, and the history of their people. They sang. They carved small bone flutes and created intricate art on the cave walls. This wasn't a frivolous waste of time. This was the foundation of human culture. The forced downtime of winter is what allowed the human brain to develop complex language and intricate social structures. Without the mandatory pause of winter, we would never have become who we are. Our cognitive explosion didn't happen while we were hunting. It happened in the dark, while we were resting. Now, look at your winter. You don't gather around a warm fire with your tribe. You sit alone in your car, shivering in gridlocked traffic. You don't tell stories that pass down generational wisdom. You scroll endlessly through feeds of disposable digital content, isolating yourself further from the people around you. You don't rest for 14 hours. You sleep for 6, wake up exhausted, and feel intensely guilty for not being productive enough. You judge your fundamental self-worth by how many emails you can answer while it's snowing heavily outside. You have pathologized your own biology. We call it seasonal affective disorder. We treat it as a clinical illness. We buy expensive UV lamps to trick our retinas into thinking we are standing on the equator. We take handfuls of supplements. We go to therapy to complain about our lack of motivation. We do everything we possibly can to fix the fact that we naturally feel tired and unmotivated in January. But what if you aren't sick? What if you are just exhausted? Dr. Daniel Lieberman, a renowned paleoanthropologist at Harvard University, argues convincingly in his work on human evolution that many modern ailments are what he calls mismatch diseases. These are chronic conditions that arise solely because our ancient bodies are poorly adapted to the novel, artificial environments we have rapidly created. Seasonal affective disorder is the ultimate mismatch disease. Your primitive brain expects a dark, quiet cave. It gets a noisy, brightly lit open-plan office. It expects 14 hours of restorative sleep. It gets chronic, grinding sleep deprivation. It expects profound social connection around a shared hearth. It gets isolation, screen time, and performance reviews. The Industrial Revolution committed one of the greatest unrecognized crimes against human biology in history. It convinced us that human productivity should be a flat, continuous line. A factory machine doesn't care if it's snowing outside. A factory machine runs at the exact same relentless speed in July as it does in December. And because we built a global society entirely around machines, we simply decided that humans must act exactly like machines too. But you are not a machine. You are an ape that barely survived the Ice Age. Your brain is a deeply seasonal organ. It is designed by evolution to surge with manic energy in the spring, to work tirelessly through the summer, to desperately harvest in the fall, and to completely, unapologetically shut down in the winter. When you feel that heavy, sluggish dread in your bones on a dark February morning, that is not a defect of your character. That is a brilliant survival mechanism. Your body is screaming at you to stay in the cave. It is begging you to rest. Yet, modern society doesn't care about your biology. The rent is still due on the first of the month. The quarterly reports still need to be filed by Friday. The global economy demands infinite, uninterrupted growth, and infinite growth does not take a winter vacation. So we push through. We drink more coffee to mask the fatigue. We turn up the thermostat to mask the cold. We pretend that the freezing, dormant world outside the window has absolutely no physiological effect on the primate trapped inside the building. We have conquered the seasons, we proudly tell ourselves. We have conquered the cold. But have we? Or have we just trapped ourselves in an endless, agonizing summer of mandatory, unrelenting productivity? Think about the last time you were truly snowed in. Think about the last time a massive blizzard shut down the major roads, closed the local schools, and forced your office to finally shut its doors. Do you remember that specific feeling? It wasn't panic. It was relief. For one brief, shining moment, the modern world broke down. The machines stopped running. The emails stopped mattering because no one else was working either. You were trapped inside, safe and warm, with absolutely nothing you had to do. You probably made some hot tea. You probably wrapped yourself tightly in a thick blanket. You probably just sat there and watched the snow fall in silence. In that moment, you weren't experiencing a frustrating disruption of your busy schedule. You were experiencing a profound return to your natural state. For the first time all year, you were living exactly the way your ancient ancestors lived. You were finally, completely allowed to pause. You were allowed to hibernate. It felt good, didn't it? It felt like a deep, ancient exhale escaping from your lungs. It felt like coming home. Because it was. You were reverting back to the factory settings of the human species. You were experiencing the winter exactly as it was meant to be experienced. Not as a logistical obstacle to be overcome, but as a biological sanctuary. But the snowplows always come. The roads are always cleared with salt and grit. The emails inevitably start pinging again. The brief, beautiful illusion of the ancient winter is shattered, and the relentless, grinding machine of modern life turns violently back on. Your biology knows the truth. It knows that you are meant to rest. It knows that this artificial, non-stop, 365-day lifestyle is completely unnatural. That's why the winter dread never really goes away, no matter how much you turn up the heat. It's not the cold you hate. It's the fact that you have to work through it. It's the agonizing cognitive dissonance of your primal brain demanding deep sleep while your modern boss demands a finalized spreadsheet. You are an ancient creature trapped in a modern cage. A cage made of painted drywall, buzzing fluorescent lights, and 40-hour work weeks. We have systematically traded the deep, restorative rest of the winter cave for the endless, grinding anxiety of the office cubicle. We have traded fireside connection for digital convenience. We have traded our necessary rest for corporate revenue. And tomorrow morning, when it is pitch black and freezing outside, your alarm is going to ring anyway. You will pull off the warm blankets. You will step onto the cold floor. You will ignore millions of years of evolutionary programming screaming at you to go back to sleep. You will get in your car and you will go to work. Because the modern world doesn't hibernate, and neither do you.